Welcome back to the channel. My name is Damon and I'm at a cabin here in Tennessee right now, more specifically a hunting cabin, and I'm doing some hunting with my traditional bow. This is the Bear Archery Eichler recurve setup and a custom bottomlands build. So take some time to talk about kind of the build that I did, why, what I like about it, and maybe inspire you to do a build of your own. One of the best things about traditional archery is A, they're super fun to shoot, but B, they're also really fun to customize, and you can have a whole spectrum of what you like to do. So stick around. We're going to talk about cool bows in bottomland. If you followed along any of my adventures, you probably have seen some traditional bow content. I really love shooting them for fun. I'm not an excellent hunter with them by any means, but I do enjoy hunting with them. And, you know, last year I was able, with this Eichler Bear Archery riser, I was able to spot and stalk a wild boar, and I was able to take 2 deer with it, 2 little bucks. And so I have no complaints. It was a great season. And this season, though, you can now get this riser in bottomland, in Mossy Oak bottomland. So that's the riser portion there in the middle, in case you didn't know on a takedown. But I'm a big fan of Bear's takedowns. And, you know, I've used the wooden ones. Then the mag risers came out, and now there's this Eichler signature riser, and they got new limbs, and there's all kind of links and different combinations you can do to customize it. First and foremost, you want to pick the limbs that are of the length you want, and then the weight, the poundage for your draw that you like. I personally like all my shooting and hunting bows around 50 pounds. And now, with all the different versions of takedown risers you can have anywhere from a 56 to a 64-inch bow. I like the number 2 limbs that Bear just came out with this season on this riser, because that gives you a 60-inch bow. I used to always set up my takedowns with the wooden risers with the shorter length at 56 inches, and that shorter length is kind of nice if you're in a ground blind and stuff, but I find the 60-inch length kind of that sweet spot of just nice buttery draw, just a little smoother. Not quite as snappy as a 56-inch, but it's total personal preference. I really like the Eichler though, with the number 2s at 60-inch. You know, with every takedown you get from Bear, it comes with a little manual, and it has in it a chart with all of the links and combinations of the takedowns that you can go from, again, from 56, I want to say, up to 64. Anyway, I'll put a close-up of that, but it's really pretty simple. You just got to pick the limb you want, and then with the riser you want to get the length you want. So, like I was saying, I had this riser in like a tan that they did, and then I have it in the Fred Bear camo, and then when they came out with bottomland, I was like, well, since I'm, doing some work with Mossy Oak Properties, I might as well build a bottomland bow, because building bows is fun. So I did. And some of the things I did, and we'll talk about them specifically, was I did a bottomland wrap on the quiver. I did a bottomland wrap on the Tacticam. This is a camera riser. And then I did a bottomland wrap on the limbs themselves. To kind of vertically orient that cool pattern into the riser, and it gives it a neat, cool look. And so what the Eichler riser introduced was a higher level of kind of tunability, let's say, than some of the other risers in the takedown lineup. Like, for instance, there's now 2 adjustment screws on the striker plate. And what that does is it kind of helps you can now adjust how far off the riser it comes for your center cut, but also the tension in it. And which is nice, depending on the spine of the arrows you shoot, now you can really kind of tune that so they come off the riser well. And there's also these 3 little inserts, plastic inserts on the shelf. And they're basically 3 levels of peak, like a really sharp peak and then a more gradual peak. It's pretty subtle, but again, they're depicted in kind of the manual. I like the middle one, but it definitely affected how my arrow comes off the shelf. You know, when you shoot an arrow, it has a certain amount of flex in it and compression as that string goes towards the bow. And how that comes off is really key in getting it to shoot well. And one of the great things about traditional bows, obviously, is that they're pretty easy to tune. You don't need a bow press. All you really need is a stringer, and a bow square comes in handy. Those are kind of the only real tools you need to really tune it up. You can obviously adjust arrow lengths, and this is not a tuning video, but I'll just say that the amount of adjustments you can make on this now are cool, and they definitely do impact flight. I've never had a problem setting up my takedowns, and I do it pretty basic. You know, I use a brass knocking point. I use just rubber silencers, these little kind of wishbones, and put those on the string, and kind of, that's that. And then you use your bow square to set up that brace height distance. I like mine, around 8. It's at 8 inches, and go to the kind of that grip. So 8.5 always shoots well for me. I don't use a wrist guard much, because usually that's a function of having too short of a brace height, and that's the height between your string and your grip. And so usually if you have good technique and the right brace height, you rarely will get string contact, and I haven't had a problem with it. Anyway, it's a ball to shoot. Shoot it in 3D stuff with it, and last season, had some success on game too. So, I'm shooting these Carbon Trad Victory arrows. They've been great. I'm using some Day 6 now broadheads at 175 grain. You can tune those, adding weights into those too, and really get it set up. But let me go through some of the close-ups of some of the custom tweaks that I did, and we'll cut to some field footage as I can, and maybe I'll get a velvet buck with it this weekend. I don't know. I will try, and but it's always fun to carry in the woods. One of the things I love about traditional bows is it kind of makes you feel like a kid again, and just hunting whatever you can get a shot at. A lot of fun, actually. So anyway, let's dive in closer. Close-up time. There's the manual showing the A, B, and C shelf inserts. I prefer the B. And then in the chart below that, it shows you all the different combinations of different risers and limbs to show you the overall length, string length, recommended brace height, etc. Here's kind of a close-up of some of the tools that I use. I grew up shooting split finger. I still shoot split finger. I've tried some other techniques. They just don't really work for me. There's up close of the Day 6 gear broadheads that I'm shooting right now. I really like how you can get these as heavier heads, 175 grains, plus or more, and dial them in well. They're super sharp, fly really good, like them, and hope to put them to good use this season. I will use brass knocking, pliers to put the brass knock on my string. This is Selway's, stringer. I like it. It's got a nice big pocket, and then a bow square for setting up that grip. But I'll kind of do a pan of the bow, and then I'll pull those arrows off and talk about some of the specific things that I've done to it. Now, with the arrows off, you can see there's the limb wrap. So this is graphic material from Mossio Graphics. Perfectly matches the bottomland riser itself. And this material is excess from the canoe wrap video that I did. So if you watch the canoe wrap video, I cut off some of that vinyl wrap, and I was like, hey, what else should I wrap with it? Well, ended up doing fun projects like this. I wrapped a Tactacam camera, and I wrapped the hood of a Selway quiver, also in bottomland. Pretty cool. It all matches now and flows really well. I think it looks really good. And yeah, so it's just got a really cool look to it. Nothing wrong with getting a little matchy-matchy sometimes. Okay, so then on this side, this is I was talking about the plates. So this is the insert that you can change, and it's just got a different arc to it to get it sharper or weaker. Just one bolt. Then this is the adjustable side plate. 2 set screws there, and you can use one to adjust how far off of the shelf it is here, and then the other one kind of adjusts how springy it is, and that helps kind of dictate how your arrow comes off. Other custom things on this side, in case you haven't picked up on it, I got, obviously, my wingman's always hunting with me in spirit, so I got, on the inside of the limb, I got my Jaeger Trax graphic, and I'm sorry, Mr. Eichler, you had your signature nameplate there, but I know you're a nice guy, but Jaeger Trax is the one who's always looking out for me, so I pulled the Eichler nameplate off, and a fellow, Nick Smith, made me a custom kind of laser cut one, and I used gold Sharpie on it, so it kind of matches the Bear gold coin. And kind of a personal touch, and make sure Jaeger's there always kind of hunting with me, making sure I make a good shot. And I know he's got me backed up if I don't. And then again, there's the wrap I did on the Selway quiver. Pretty neat. A little bit of wrinkles, but I think it kind of adds some look to it. Again, close up now. These are the wishbones that I use. Brass knock. And then the string itself is matched. Jeff Nowak he's in Michigan. He makes these continuous loop strings. So it's got like an olive serving and then a black string, and that kind of matches the overall vibe of the bow. Pretty good. So, you know, setting up a traditional bow, again, it's pretty easy. You basically unstring it and shoot once you've chosen the limbs you want on either end. The Bear latches are here, and this was a it's a patented system from back in the 70s. No need to change it. It still works. It's awesome. I love the takedowns for how easy they are to travel with. Then you pick your limb, and then you have a choice now 1, 2, or 3 limbs, and then they just released a set of longbow limbs too. So you have a lot of options, and then you get the string choice. Generally on a recurve, your string is going to be about 4 inches shorter than what the AMO of the bow is, and then you just kind of string it up, and again set your brace height. And I'll use the tool, rest it on the shelf. I'll do this one-handed. So I'll usually line up my brass knock top line there with the top of the bow square, and then pop that off, and you can put it there. And again, see, it's around the 8-inch mark, which is where I set my brace heights on my traditional bows. There's nothing on the grip. It's a narrow grip. I happen to like it. Some people like to add things to it. You can use anything from paracord to a leather wrap. I just shoot it as is. One thing that is to note though, when it's really cold out, this is now a metal riser. It really conducts heat out. So something to think about. But I'll often have a glove on anyway. But anyway, all right. So that's kind of the custom touches on my Bottomland Bear Eichler riser. Okay, well that's a rundown of my custom Bear Archery Eichler takedown in Bottomland. It's a bit of a mouthful, but hey, it's better in Bottomland. It's been a fun build. I'm enjoying hunting with it. Tonight I'm going to be sneaking into a bedding area I am hoping I can get into using a creek bottom to stay quiet and stealthy and try to get close to some velvet bucks here in Tennessee. I don't know if I'll be able to, but it's fun trying. So if you have any questions, please leave them below. Comment, like, share, subscribe. It helps the channel immensely, and hope that I can continue to do more fun product videos like this. I'm going to go shoot a little, get changed up, and head into the woods. Hope you do the same.